Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of the Lady Parts podcast. One of my many experiments moving into this next season. I'm really excited for today's guest because we're shifting gears a little bit and we are moving away from founders who manufacture and into artists. So you may or may not know Slew, drawing from nature, froth monster. There's a lot of, she goes by a lot of things. But Slew is here. We're going to talk about art. We're going to talk about art on skis and snowboards. So we're going to talk about the creative process. We're going to talk about working together. We're going to talk about what it was like for her to be the creative director for Coalition Snow. She might have bad things to say about me. No one knows. No one knows. But before we get into all the questions, Slew, welcome to Lady Parts.
Thank you.
In case our listeners don't know who you are, which feels rude, but in case they don't know who you are, can you tell everyone a little bit about you, about yourself?
Yeah. Hi. I mean, if you've read Lady Parts, you know that I'm a frequent, I like to share ideas.
We have collaborated on Lady Parts before, and I have talked about you multiple times in Lady Parts. Yes, true.
It's one of my favorite reads. But hi, I am a visual artist. I'm a professor. I am a creative human being. And most importantly, this winter's creative director for the skis and snowboards at Coalition Snow. It's awesome.
I mean, it was awesome because the line, which by the time this podcast is out, the line will have dropped on the website. So I'll definitely be putting that link in the show notes. The artwork for this season to me is so over the top in a good way. And I just feel like every year we put out a line of skis and boards with new top sheet artwork. And I'm always like, how are we going to top that? How are we going to do better? Or even just maintain the excellence of the artwork that we have been able to generate, by and large by Lauren Bello Okerman, who has been designing the majority of our top sheet artwork for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And this is the very first year that we decided, okay, let's have Slew come in and have all the creative direction over all of the skis and boards. I barely had anything. I had barely anything to do with it. I had a little bit of feedback on a few things, but not much at all. And what's I don't know if people understand that, like, the amount of resources and what goes into actually creating top sheet artwork. And I'm coming up with all these questions that are not in our notes, so I might just go into one of them right now before I forget. So oftentimes I think that people believe that any piece of art can translate into artwork on a top sheet of a ski or a snowboard. And if you have worked with skis and snowboards, you know that that's not true. Number one, the canvas size, it's huge, right? So you have to have something that looks stunning, but also that works at 4 feet tall, 5 feet tall, right? Like you have these huge canvases, but on top of that, a snowboard maybe a little bit easier because it's one. But with skis, you have a left and a right ski, but then you also have, with every single ski and snowboard, you have your bases that need to talk to your top sheets. And so it's not as simple as like, oh, here's this painting that I did. Let me put it on a pair of skis or a snowboard. Not just because it may actually not render that large, but also it may not work for the canvas. So can you talk a little bit more about that, of the creative, almost like logistics that go into designing top sheet artwork for skis and boards?
Yeah, and first, to go back to your start, really big shoes to fill.
True. It's true.
Like, Lauren's work the last 10 years at Coalition Snow has been such an inspiration of exactly what you're talking about, of like, how do we put artwork on skis and boards? So yeah, I just want to back it up and say there, it was like, yeah, it was, just a tiny job, just a tiny thought. But huge credit to her of like kind of pushing the bounds of what artwork could go on skis. I think like what I've learned from her has always been the unexpected,
Mm-hmm.
and just like, okay, like that's what art does. Is it like helps us like think of things in new ways. It can like really push our thinking and what we think goes on a ski and snowboard. And so that was a huge shoe to fill with Coalition Snow. Let's just like put that out there. But as a, you know, professor of creativity and a visual artist myself, who's been inspired by skis and snowboards my entire life, the process of getting skis and getting designs on skis and boards is really interesting because exactly like you said, it's a design process. There's
Yeah.
fine art, which is painting, making things look nice, and then there's design work, which is like, okay, what is the role? What are we creating? And I've always been inspired by skis and boards that, you know, really make me think like I'm looking at art. And I think that that's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a huge, creative problem. And when I love creative problems, like here's the size of a board. Here's the size of a ski. I love when skis like, in my past designs with Coalition doing the split board, like I wanted it to work both ways, right? Like you have to think about its function as you're thinking about what it's going to look like. And to an artist like myself, to a designer, that really kicks off that creative process of like, okay, I want it to achieve this, but it also has to like function this way. And, that is kind of really what I came in this role with my experience in Coalition Snow of like, okay, there's a fine art side. We really value art, and there's a design. We want it to look good. We want it to function good. And that's a creative process. So it's like starting with lots of sketches. It's starting with concepts. It's starting with ideas. It doesn't just go from, here's a cool picture to boom, put it on a board. Not at all. And, we've collaborated creatively a lot. And I know you're always telling me like, I'm not the artist, but you do have an eye for art. And so your feedback's been really good. And I think that's what's cool about design work
Mm-hmm.
separate from fine art. Like if I'm just painting in my studio, like that's all, like no one can tell me what to do. But when you choose to make a design, you're stepping into like a better conversation with someone else where I'm
Yeah.
like now like kind of showing you ideas. I'm working with other artists, and we're working together, and I think that takes design work one step even further because then it can be like really good feedback or really creative tweaks that you do in that process,
Mm-hmm.
different from just making artwork.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's tricky too because when you decide, as we have decided at Coalition, that artwork would be a big part of our offering,
Yeah.
you go into it knowing that not every piece of art resonates with people. And what's challenging about that is Coalition has existed because we've had a product to sell. And so if you can't sell that product because people don't like the artwork, then then you run into an issue. So there is, for me, as not the creative director or the artist, but essentially the person making the business
Mhm.
decisions, it's like, okay, well, aesthetically it needs to vibe with
Yeah.
me, aesthetically it needs to vibe with the brand, and also, do I think I can sell this to people? You can't go into design work and just be as like avant-garde or like out there as you want, because there is a finished product
Mhm.
that many people are going to buy. It's that you need them to buy. It's not a singular piece of artwork that needs to capture the attention of that one um person. It's this needs to resonate on a much broader scale.
Mhm.
And you could easily go down the path of put a fucking lake on it, put some mountains on it. I'll sell this shit in a second. We have not, while we do have some mountains and some lakes on our artwork, or on the artwork that has that on the top sheets, we've strategically at Coalition Snow said we don't want to be that brand. We don't want to be the lakes and the mountains type brand. We actually want to push artwork, like what artwork could be. Um, and so I get the question I'm getting at is
Yeah.
like artwork is important, right? That's it's important. So like why not just make white skis? Like we could just make white skis and not go through all this fucking process, like which is huge. I mean, it's fun, but it is such an intensive process where we start more than a year out before we actually go into production. So the lead time is long. It's resource intensive. You know that you might be making something that people may not want to buy because of how it looks. You have one chance a year as a ski and snowboard brand to press goods. So you could just be like, well, fuck, it's just easier to make white skis. Let's just do that. Why would we not? Like, what is the function? What is the purpose of art on something like a pair of skis or a snowboard?
That's so good. I mean, what is the purpose of art? Right? Like it makes it like really comes to me to expression, and like as a snowboarder and as the people that are going to buy the skis and snowboards from Coalition, like it is they are more than just blank white skis, right? So having artwork on skis is just another way that we can like connect with our own personal expressions, which is what I think art does, right? Like you don't have to like all art. In fact, it'd be kind of boring if you did, right? Like this is like art teacher me talking right now, but like art is for all of us, and we're all like super unique and super awesome, and we get to like connect with things that like match our own expression. So putting art on boards, putting art on skis, I just feel like there's just such a there's already a rich history there of like why you would want to put art on skis and snowboards. And I really do think it comes down to the person who is skiing and riding.
Mm-hmm.
They are expressive. They are, kind of leading life their own way, and having a board or ski that kind of reflects that is super important. It's super cool to have art. And I think of like the snowboards of my history, like boards that I've looked at, boards that I remember. I just, I'm really thankful that snowboarding does have a huge culture in art, with videos, with graphics,
Mm-hmm.
and that, is rooted in skate culture and is again just rooted into like these communities we find ourselves in as riders and skiers, and to make art that can extend that expression, right? That you can like ride on, that you could be super stoked. Um, I love seeing people riding coalition boards out in the wild. I lose my mind. And the first thing they always say to me is that like they're like, this board like defines me. They're like, it visually is me. Like there's like art adds another layer than just a product that we just go ride on.
Yeah,
It
it creates joy. I just have to say, do you know the number of times I have seen people at resorts like all over the country, and I'll be like coalition, and people look at me funny, and I'm like, it's me. Like, so to our listeners,
I like
if you're ever skiing or snowboarding, and some random old lady yells at you, coalition, it's me. It's the founder of the brand who's so pumped, and I'm not going to go. I don't want like if you came up and talked to me, I'd be very happy to talk to people, but I'm not going to go up to someone and be like, "Oh, hi, I'm the founder. I'm Jen." But like I will just be like, "What's up, coalition?" And people look at me funny.
similarly, I will like be like, "Oh, sick." And then,
Sick.
they'll talk about the artwork and I'll be like, "Cool, I know the designer." There have been a few occasions though where like um I've like ran into that person like later in the day, and I think they've like thought about it a little bit more because they're like, that was a weird. And then they'll be like,
Listen.
wait a minute, are you the
Yeah, it's me.
but it's I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it. And I think that that's what's awesome about having artwork on your skis and boards, right?
Yeah.
Like you get to like kind of like look. I'm always looking at other people's skis and boards in the lift line to be like, what's cool, what's awesome, like what is this person like. I think our
Hmm.
boards and skis, can share that with art.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Okay, so what what do you think makes great artwork? So is there, I mean, we've already said that like, that appreciating artwork is really based on the individual's
Mhm.
perspective, their aesthetic. You want art to be different. It's okay to dislike art. Some people will like it, some people won't. Like, that's kind of the point. That's also like that's a place to start a conversation. But to you, what defines or what creates really exceptional ski and snowboard artwork?
Oh, that's such a good question because you could go back into like my sketchbooks from like middle school, and I have boards and wakeboards cut out of magazines
Mm,
and like my own drawings, right? So like I've been thinking about this for a long time just as a little art punk. Um, but to me, it's like I really love when I see a brand, and Coalition Snow does this really well, which is why like it's such a cool job for me. Um, leans into their artists,
mm,
and like when I see like like different materials or different processes going into the artwork, like we've in Coalition So we have paintings, we have digital work, we have had, I put like watercolor paintings on that one. You got it, yeah. I think that that's super cool because I think when artists are allowed to kind of let their freak flags fly and are supported by a brand in order to do that, I think that we get like really new and interesting artworks
mm.
to put on skis and boards. Because again, it's a cool creative challenge. So when a
Yeah.
brand can go to an artist and be like, hey, here's our design problem, here's what we want on our skis, and then the artist comes back with like their own wacky ideas, or hey, I want to do, you know, this kind of process for an artwork on a board. That makes stuff really cool. In my head, I remember seeing like the very first Keith Haring
Mm,
curtain
mm-hmm,
board, and
mm-hmm.
like and being like, wow, like boards are for fine art. And so I think that like really good design is just something that I, want to know or see that there's a creative process in. Like if I look at it and I kind of get it in a second, I kind of like I'm like, all right, next.
Yeah.
And we could
Put a
probably
lake on it.
go ahead, not to be
Yeah.
too smoky, but like if I'm like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
But like a board that makes me look longer at it, a board that I can tell is, a creative process by an artist or by a brand. Those look really good. And I'm like I said, I think it's super awesome when you can be on a lift line, when you can be on the bus, and you can look around and there's hundreds of artworks around you. Like that's how it
Yeah.
feels to me.
That's
So
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, in terms of just the creative process, I think it is important to point out that at Coalition, I've never gone into it either with you or with Lauren or with anyone saying this is what we need to do for next year. The problem that I've presented to people is I need to get this artwork to Tetsusan by September 15th. Okay. So that is the problem to be solved. It needs to be completely done, ready to
Mhm.
go, right? And
Yeah.
and that has been the way that we have done artwork at Coalition, is to not put any parameters on artists. I mean, I will take that back. I feel like maybe 2 or 3 years into Coalition being a brand, I did say, you know what, I want some sort of cohesion
Mhm.
with the line. Like, I want to put everything up next to each other, and I want people to be like, oh, that's a lineup from Coalition, rather than having things kind of all over the place. And I think in the early years, we were not trying to do that. And so if you looked at our lines, you'd be like, there's nothing cohesive here, which is not necessarily bad.
Mhm.
It's just not what I wanted. I wanted to have a line, like a line that represented that season.
Mhm.
But other than that, it really just has been like, okay, get to work. Let's September 15th is coming. We got to get this to Tetsusan. Um, what was it like for you to be the creative director for Coalition, knowing that really all you had was a deadline, like a date? That was it. And you had some templates. You had some templates in Illustrator so that you knew like, okay, the artwork has to fit within here, and this is where we place the size and some of the specs. Like, you had like some of that, but what was it like to be creative director?
I mean, what a creative opportunity. And it just felt like such a cool, now that it's done, right? Like you said, like
Mm-hmm.
it's been like 2 years now of like conception, talking about these ideas, making all this work, collaborating with artists, getting all the files to Tetsu-san, the whole thing. For me, being the creative director was just like a really amazing creative opportunity. And for creativity to happen, there needs to be some sort of boundary, right? Like, here's the due date, here are the forms, and you want them to look together. And I know you don't really like chartreuse.
Yeah.
And that, like, some colors don't work that great on there. But for me, being the creative director was really an awesome opportunity to, in this lineup coming up specifically, is my goals where I really wanted to like honor and like really showcase the 10 years of designs before me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, before I even got it started on like ideas, like, it was a lot of reflecting and a lot of thinking for me as an artist of like, okay, I'm going from artist, right? I was just a single board designer to, okay, now I'm going into creative direction, which means I'm not just coming up with one design, I'm coming up with the boundaries that I'm going to give to other artists.
Collection,
So,
yeah.
so
Collection.
taking, kind of your boundaries from the design and the manufacturing side, adding my own creative thinking, my own process, right? Like what I want to bring, and then creating a new set of boundaries to then allow artists to express themselves. Just like I had been given that opportunity also of like,
Mm-hmm.
here's the boundaries. So to get started, really, it was, I want to highlight all this artwork. I want to stay true to the visuals of Coalition Snow, and what an opportunity to, for me, create a line that's exactly what we've been talking about, which is what is the line between fine art and design? And like, as a visual artist myself, as a painting major, right? I did not go to school to make skis and snowboards, like, which would be sick, but super, super, super niche.
Maybe not the best time to get in to be like, all I'm going to do to make money is design artwork for skis and snowboards. If anybody thinks that the reason why people design top sheet artwork for skis and snowboards is to make money, is nope. Please don't think that that is the singular job. You can't even just make skis and snowboards as your only job. Like, it's impossible. So I
So I wanted
digress.
to do
Carry
that.
on.
So I started, and it really kind of like, snowballed for me from there. Like, that's the creative process. That's the incubation, my history with Coalition, the visuals of Coalition, my goals, like really wanting, fine art on boards, but also like something that's gonna be really sick as a ski and snowboard, because like I want to ride it. Like, I'm riding it. Like, I want people to come up to me and be like, dope myth, and I'm gonna like lose my mind on them. So yeah, so then, as creative director, I really like took myself, it felt like, to another level creatively. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just an artist working on one unit. I was coming up with the vision of the whole lineup, because I do like that about Coalition, is that everything fits together. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's that connects a lot to the fine art side that I like, is like creating cohesion, creating a, essentially an art show, right? Like, I want all these works to at least talk together. And then I came up with a color palette that I thought would be cool. And I pitched to you a list of artists that I thought would be interesting to work with, that
Mm-hmm.
I thought would add some really cool, work into what I was lining up. And then from there, it just, we just had to follow the process. We just had to like reach out to artists. And if they said yes, awesome. And then, some artists, they had artworks that directly transferred, right? Like, the Rafiki next year is a full painting. And it worked, like a couple of tweaks, but honestly, the painting worked really well.
Yeah. Which is wild, because normally it doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. It doesn't
but
work
like,
that way, but it did.
and then like another artist that we worked with, Tasha, our favorite, Jitterbug Art,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you were to see her initial concepts to where we got to, it's completely like it was such a process of like us being creatives, us collaborating together, us saying this isn't working yet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's also really fun and beautiful too, because now we're like even more proud of that design.
Yeah. Well, and
So
also specifically with Tasha's too, saying like, girl, you see this, you see what you just created. How can you not see that that would be absolutely stunning on a snowboard? And Tasha being like, huh, I never thought about it. And we are like, it's right there. And that sort of like have like that aha moment with another artist of like, do you see what we see? That would be perfect. Because she didn't see it
no,
at
she
first,
didn't.
and it's stunning artwork on the Queen Bee. Which if you're listening to this, you got to click through the show notes to see it. But when it was presented to her, she was like, really? Like, yep. And then we did it, and it's incredible. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good. So that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of the big jump for, you know, to go back to that creative director question is um kind of taking my experience as the artist in past lines with my snowboards with Coalition and figuring out, okay, how am I going to recreate this experience for artists to collaborate with me?
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully I'm an art teacher at the end of the day, and I really leaned into those skills also, in like collaborating with other artists, like you said, like with Tasha, like, hey, like this, and
Mm-hmm.
like kind of coaching people through designs and then helping them with the design process, because I don't expect fine art painters to know how to like create the Illustrator file. So then also being kind of in charge of that and working that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you are art teacher, as you sometimes you put on your Professor Slew cap.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone who's listening who's does not consider themselves an artist, what would you say to people who maybe want to have more art in their life or want to practice the art of making art, to
Mm-hmm.
someone who doesn't consider themselves an artist? What would you say to that person? What would you advise them to have more, how to like sort of invigorate or inspire the practice of making art? And what is art in that? That's a
Yeah,
lot of questions.
that's a lot of questions, and let's see if I can articulate this best, because
Okay.
as you know, I teach an 8-week course on the psychology of creativity, and I think about this all the time. Number one, I love to just expand everyone's minds, ideas, concepts of what, you know, art is and what creativity is, because they're different.
True.
Creativity, we are all creative. And
Mm-hmm.
it is my, you know, art teacher, and I want to be the art teacher of the world, right? Like, you are creative in your own specific way. Creativity is something that is new and something that is useful. So if, you know, you made a breakfast this morning out of the ingredients in your fridge,
I did.
super creative, like, right? Like, that's the definition. So like, I always try to open up, you know, people into noticing where they're already being creative. Because the number one thing I get told as an art teacher is like, oh, I can't even draw a stick figure. I'm not creative. And I just want to like
Mm-hmm.
bonk those people in the head and
Yeah.
be like, when in the history of the world has being creative mean you could draw a good stick figure? And also, why does that matter?
Or just drawing, or just drawing in general.
Like, okay, like, I'm pretty good at drawing. Like, that's my skill set. I'm pretty terrible at sports that you need to be tall at.
Okay, I don't know. It's important that our listeners know this. Now, you might think that Slew is as tall as I am.
Not.
At this exact moment, Slew thinks she's as tall as me, because whenever we have a video call, or this morning we were on the phone, whenever we are communicating where we're not in the same room, Slew thinks she's my height. But here's what you need to know: she's not.
Not.
And this becomes a reality to her during one of our regularly scheduled quarterly gatherings, where she's like, fuck, you're like, how am I like a foot taller than you? 8 inches?
And
Six?
the answer is yes.
Yeah. So
Right?
so
if
yeah,
I keep
so my point is you might think she's tall, she's not, which is why she's not it's going to be difficult for her to be really good at tall sports
and
like
so,
basketball.
but like if you go your whole life thinking that like you can't be creative because you can't draw, like that's so silly. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
ways to be creative. So that's like number one is I just always want to like remind people like to be a human being is to be creative and start thinking about the ways that you're already creative in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's cool about art making is that it's fun and it makes you feel good. So if, set up some watercolors on a table and like doodle around with your friends. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I love bringing like art supplies to like friend events and just being like, we're just gonna color. Like,
Mm-hmm.
these things are fun. So, there's like two things. Like, number one, you can think about creativity as something different from art because you are creative and there's lots of
Mm-hmm.
ways that you are creative. And number two, do some more art making or, the one of the soapboxes I'll go off on is decorate your house with artists from real artists. Like,
Mm-hmm.
resist the urge to buy something off of Amazon because the artist in your community is selling prints that are way cooler for like not that much more.
Yeah.
And that I think is just always a good reminder of, how do we get more art in our communities is we support our local artists.
Mm-hmm. Can I show you what I bought from this random art show up in someone's lawn over the weekend? Okay, so it just happens to be here. Um, Dear listener, this would be when you want to be watching the video part. So I live in this neighborhood called Old Southwest in Reno, and there's like up on the hill, there's some larger properties, and I believe there to be this like artist community of women who are all over the age of 65 who they were there selling their art. It was a fundraiser, like the portion of the proceeds went to ALS. Almost all these women had purple hair, so they had gray hair that was also had like purple streaks in it, and I was like, this is awesome. I came across this hand woven. Okay, this she wove this on a loom. This from a local artist at a little, like, again, not a fancy art show in someone's yard under white tents. Didn't need to have all the hoopla of a fancy event and DJs and food. Nope, it was just people in a backyard. This was $85.
Beautiful. It'd
It's
also be a
absolutely
really good
stunning.
snowboard design.
It would be. I should go talk to her about it. But this, I saw this and I was like, it's absolutely stunning. I want to support these women here. I want to be a part of this cool thing happening in my community. And if you were to go to Target, for example, or Bed Bath and Beyond, oh, not Bed Bath, World Market, or wherever the kids are buying, I don't fucking know. I clearly don't buy anything. You would find something similar, and it would be like $53, $54. And I was like, why would I not spend $30 more to invest in this artist, this woman in my community? This is a community event. And I bring that up because I think that sometimes there's this belief that acquiring art, that it's very expensive or that you have to be like a collector. Like, as far as I'm concerned, this is folk art. This is like,
Mhm.
and this is something I'm going to have for my entire life. And it was, not cheap, $85, but also not 1,000,
Yeah.
not 500. And it was just really awesome to be a part of this event in my community. But yeah, there's all little ways to support.
There's all little ways, and you don't need to be an art teacher or go to art school to start figuring out what you like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I saw this post on Substack. Did I share it with you? Did I send it to you?
No.
It was in the notes section, like the social media part of Substack, which I have feelings about this new announcement of the money they raised today. But it said, I don't want to use AI so I have time to do the dishes.
Yeah.
I want AI to do the dishes so that I can create art.
Yeah.
And I saw that I don't remember who it was who had posted it in notes, but I was like, oh, that really exemplifies, I think, one of these challenges that we're facing, this crossroads that we're at, where we have technology, and do we really understand how technology can advance our lives? And if we only are using technology as a productivity tool, then you're right. Like, you could use AI to help further your creativity. I use that like loosely, AI to further your creativity. Please everyone see my air quotes. But, so what? You have time to do your dishes, so you have time to clean your house, so you have, like, what is it that we're using technology for? Like, shouldn't technology be removing us from some of these onerous daily tasks so that we can say, like, okay, I have all this extra time to create art? I just thought it was a really interesting way to present what I think will become a very pressing question of our time.
Yeah, and the art teacher in me, the thing that I'm always trying to like share with people, back to your original question of like how do they get more art? How do they, dive into this creativity is it's really beneficial if you do it and just like make like 5 minutes. And the more time, like you said, like like if AI wants to like do all the tasks that I don't want to do, I would love more time in my studio.
Yeah.
And I would love for, more teachers to have time to be creative. I would love for, more entrepreneurs who are like busy all the time working on stuff to have that opportunity. Because I think that, back in like your big societal questions, this is where we go, Chad. We like started like, oh, let's just talk about art. Then it's like, okay, well, I think art will save the world. And I think that there are a lot of powerful analogies when we lean into creative thinking about, we don't have to all like the same painting, but art gives us a language that we can, have a better conversation about it. And we can start to, learn like, well, I like this or I don't like this, and be able to like, I don't know, meet people like, right? Like you and I standing looking at a painting, we can both talk about what we like, and it can be completely different. So I think that like just for everyone, like fill your homes with art that you like, support your local artists, and, pick up some pencils and color pencils once in a while, or take a local ceramics class, or, knit, crochet, cook. Like there's so many ways that you can be creative, and the more that we as a collective that all start doing what makes us, all start expressing what makes us, great, back to like art being an expression of ourselves. I think that's going to just add more joy to our lives. And I don't think that's wrong.
100%. No, we could definitely use more of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Since I already talked about AI, I'm going to talk about it more. I feel like this is like a thing that people are going to want to know. How do you think artists and or creatives can use AI? I mean, I know you have thoughts on this because you're teaching art teachers, so you can't not be talking about AI because you have students who are using AI to like submit work to you, which is foolish. Again, if you are a student listening and you think you're just going to like slide an AI written paper, or if you're going to write me an AI written email, nope, please go edit that first. That's your PSA. But like, how do you think artists and creatives can use AI to enhance, improve, maybe not even improve, but be a part of their creative process?
I think we all need to learn how to use tools appropriately. And so that's all AI is a tool. And I think that, for me in, teaching, I'm stoked when students are using AI tools that can help them. It can be really useful as a creative thinking partner. It could be super
Mm-hmm.
useful as like a search engine if like, art teachers like they design curriculums and they have to like know a lot about a lot of things. Like that could help you like limit like, hey, help me find 10 contemporary artists that, do this. Um, and just remember that, like, again, to be human is to be creative. So don't lose that. Like, you should be the one kind of controlling the
Mm-hmm.
creative decisions. And as long as, like, AI is a tool that's helping you be in control of that, you're going to have good work still.
Yeah.
But the second you start, removing, your own experiences, your own, right? Like, the boards that you see in, like, this lineup are, like, they scream slew.
Yeah.
They scream um my 20 years of like snowboarding. They scream like my 20 years as a professional creative and visual artist. uh AI would never be able to do that.
No.
But can AI like help me draft some boring emails that I have to do, right? Like, yeah, that's a tool that's going to open up some time for me to then like go back to my sketchbooks or go back to my studio.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's just a tool, but
Mm-hmm.
good art has experience. Good art has humanness.
Mm-hmm.
And most creatives that I know that are out in the world trying to, and again, making good art is like not being like super rich. Like, good art to me is like, am I being truthful to my experiences? Am I like sharing myself with the world that feels authentic to me?
Mm-hmm.
And do I have time to like do art? Like are my basic needs met and can I, create to like keep creating, right? Like I think I
Mm-hmm.
see like I see a lot of my art making, a lot of my art jobs. They're just like funds to do the next creative thing because that's how I want to live, is I want to live creatively.
Mm-hmm.
And I want more people to live creatively because they're going to be more joyful. They're going to have more interesting things. They're not going to be on blank white skis and wear blank white t-shirts and just be like blah. Like, they're going to be able
Mm-hmm.
to connect with themselves as humans, and I think if we
Yeah.
connect with ourselves as humans, we can be better humans to others.
Exactly. Well, and I appreciate you bringing up sort of what your concept of like being successful at art means. Like, it's not about making money. There's these very personal and unique to you things that, these markers for you that indicate like, okay, I'm doing a good job
Hmm.
with the art. I feel like for so long we've been pushed in this direction to define our success by how much money we make. And here we are, so many artists and small business owners, and I would imagine federal workers and people in
Hmm.
healthcare, like all sorts of people are looking at like, oh, well, what does it look like to earn a different amount of money or to not have as much money or to not like sort of feeling like there's not enough money in the world to go around because certain people are hoarding all of the money. Like, there actually is enough money, but it's being hoarded. And just reminding ourselves that we can't always tie financial goals to success, to completion of projects, to, would I do this again or not. If we continue, if we move forward in a way that all we're doing is defining our lives by the amount of money that we make on a certain project or a contract, or we're going to be missing out on a lot of joy. And I feel like we are in this time where we're really sort of like rubbing up against that. And with everything that we're facing, from absolute upheaval of some
Hmm.
of our, basic needs that people will have with healthcare moving into 2026, with the big bullshit bill where people are going to lose Medicaid and affordable healthcare is going to go up. We have these awful immigration raids, these ICE
Hmm.
raids. We're putting people into concentration camps. We have serious questions about the health of our economy, the chaos created by tariffs, that there's all these things, right? And if we can't figure out as individuals and within our own community, whatever community looks like to you, to find joy and creativity in what we do, like where will we be? Like how will we make it through? You know, like we have to be able to do that, and we can't think that money is going to be the solution to these problems, because money and the desire to have more of it is essentially like why we're in this mess. So yeah, creativity and art and really nurturing your own set of like your own like why I do this, that's far removed from because I got paid for it.
Yeah, I would just want to have a really cool career of making like really good work
Mm-hmm.
and knowing
Mm-hmm.
that, I was able to bring that joy, to make those connections, to work with lots of people, right? Like it's not just,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I like design work so much is, this whole process of being creative director here, I got to work with you. We got to work with the ambassador team, right? Like they
Yeah.
inspire me a ton. We got to work with 3 incredible artists. Tasha, we already talked about, Jitterbug Art. Noelle Fair's an artist here in Denver. And then Lisa Cogden, like one of my
Girl crush.
creative sheroes, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that to me was like, holy cow, I can't believe, like I just would wish I could go like high five like 15-year-old me and be like,
Yeah.
you
Look
are
what you
working
did.
with legit, like you are a legit artist, like you are working with artists, like you are doing the thing. And yeah, and I think that's what's important about art in our lives, is that there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of creatives in your community. There's a lot of ways that we can be creative ourselves, and there's just lots of really good connections that happen from that for me, like, and being the creative director, this whole lineup is just, it's full of connections. It's full of, joy and fun with the brand, and just wanting to make good art at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. For any aspiring artists who are maybe interested in working with brands, or having the courage to say like, okay, I'm gonna put this artwork up on a website and try to sell it, or I'm gonna go pop up. What advice would you give people specifically around connectivity, around connecting with others? How, like, in terms of supporting your career, supporting your goals as an artist and creative, how would you suggest people go about creating and maintaining connections?
Wow. I
That's
mean,
not even written down.
that,
That's not even on the
there's
that's
not
not
even
even
one
on
of
the
those things.
pre-show notes. Oh.
Well, I think I'll use us as an example.
Uh-huh.
I think for me personally, and what again goes back to how I want to live creatively and the creative career that I reflect on and want to build myself, is every time I work with friends, every time I work with passionate people, I feel great. Like I feel like there is so much to learn and so much to connect that then makes my art better. Right? And that, could sometimes be a little sticky early in my career. Like feeling
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't really fit, or like not really knowing if that was the role for me. So I think you have to try out a lot of things. But I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, you need to be like, being an artist is being super reflective.
Mm-hmm.
Did I feel good in that project? Was that my best work? Uh, and with you and I was just kind of like a young punk showing up. Like honestly, like I was like, oh, this will be a cool live podcast. I'm gonna go listen to this woman talk because I like her work and she's passionate, and oh my god, she makes amazing skis and snowboards, and then building a friendship.
Yeah.
And you told me no for years.
I did. I forgot that I did that, but I did. Do you remember
What?
why I told you no?
I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
my work wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that's 100% fair, because I would be embarrassed if we had an artwork from
Uh-huh.
then. And that's, being a creative as it is very much tied into our lives and our experiences. And you were so great, because you weren't like hard no.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, Slew, I trust you as a friend, and I don't think you're ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, don't be discouraged if that's what you get as a young creative.
Yeah.
Like, your job is to keep, mastering your ideas, mastering your skill set,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about your work, reflecting on like what kind of work that you want to make. And yeah, so an example is, we had to build that up. And then it was also
Mm-hmm.
like doing some little jobs, showing that I, basic stuff about being a good human.
Mm-hmm.
Show up on time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think for me, when I think about working with artists, I want to know what it's like to work with you. I want to see your work. I want to, so having smaller projects to work on with people to build up to something larger is tremendously helpful on both sides, right? You get
Yeah.
to see, like you just said, how does this feel?
Mm-hmm.
What was this experience like? Rather than thinking that anything that you do has to be the big thing, the huge project, the contract, like there is nothing wrong with doing small
Yeah.
projects as a way to test out the partnership, test out the creative medium, test the whole thing out. And I think sometimes we equate the concept of small as bad
Yeah.
or not enough, or there's still more to strive for, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I'm going to design a t-shirt graphic for you, or I'm going to design sticker artwork, and then just building that relationship over time to where you'd get to a point of like, okay, now we're really vibing.
Mm-hmm.
Because anybody who looks at the lineup for next year is going to be like, well, she's fucking ready. She got there.
I got
she
there.
definitely got there.
Yeah.
And it was like over years of working together and in these smaller projects, and you really understanding the brand, which
Mm-hmm.
is essential to like what is the aesthetic of the brand, what are they trying to do, is such a big part of working together. Because it's one thing to be an artist and create art for yourself or to create art for the world. It's another to be an artist and create art for commercial purposes, whether that's a product being sold or marketing or whatever. Like those are two different things. So just having that ability to really get to know each other is huge.
Good to know you, to keep pressuring,
Mm-hmm.
to be like, remember that snowboard design?
Remember that? Remember that?
I think I'm ready now. And then that was 2 boards before coming into
Mm-hmm.
creative director. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I've grown a lot in those just 2 boards. So I think like
That's
that's
true.
just a part of the process.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, Slew, here we are.
Yeah.
Getting ready. I'm again, by the time this podcast comes out, the skis and boards will have been released to the world. For my last question I have for you, is there
Okay.
anything particular that you want people to know about what the artwork means to you, or the role of being creative director, like as you just completed this huge body of work, right? Like we are in the very last
Yeah.
steps of this, which is talking about the artwork this has been a part of our lives together for almost 2 years now. Getting to this point, it's been almost 2 years. As you look back over these, past probably 18 months, and that we're sort of wrapping this up, like what's your reflection on that? What are you thinking about now?
Well, I think we talked about it a lot. First, to be said, like, just what an honor and like what a cool feeling I feel like I've leveled up,
Mm-hmm.
which is like just every professional creative's goal, right? Like we're all on this like game of just like projects can level us up years And so I just feel like I've grown a lot in my own work and my own process, which feels really cool, right? I teach that to students and I also get to like live it and be an example of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then just like visually, like I am just so excited with like how everything looks and how
Mm-hmm.
um it looks together every time you share that PDF with the group. I'm just like, wow, who did that?
Sick. Yeah, you did.
Like, do I want to ski now?
Oh yeah.
And just like looking at, creating a body of work that to me has so many deep layers to it, but at the end of the day is just a sick design. Like that's like
Mm-hmm.
it's both. It's an and. Like I'm thinking of which the red ski, which was inspired by like 1970s French feminist posters, and so like
Yeah,
there's
the
like
La Nieve. Mm-hmm.
yeah, the La Nieve,
Mm-hmm.
like that ski, it looks so beautiful and so sick and rad, but then like to know like, oh, like I pulled that from like the depths of feminist history to bring back, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving uh these contemporary artists that I admire, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm big fans of their artwork, I'm giving them an opportunity to get their artwork out in the world onto a ski and snowboard. And a lot of the other designs that kind of weave in between the other artists and my board, um they really showcase some cool things about coalition that like you're gonna see recurring themes like the moons,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thinking like I'm Lauren Bella Oakman, like I have like the monstera leaves kind of popping out. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
feel visually that it did what I wanted it to do, which
Mm-hmm.
was I want these to be fine art pieces that also make sick designs. All the bases are odd, like my favorite. Like, let's be real, they're sick, and um, it just is really gonna hopefully showcase female artists in
Mm-hmm.
like a really powerful way, and hopefully connect with our audience of rad skiers and snowboarders. And yeah, I'm gonna be riding that this winter.
Me too. I also am going to be writing that, and so is Kelly, and
It's
so
gonna
are
be
ideally a couple hundred other people because that's how many we have. So it's
it's
gonna be
a
sick.
good board.
It's a good board for Slew. You fucking crushed it.
Thanks, dog.
Sick. I'm so thrilled that we were able to work on this together. We will do more things in the future. We don't know what
Hmm.
that's going to be yet, but we will do that. Thank you so much for your
Hmm.
friendship, for your support. Yeah, you are definitely like one of the co-leaders of the cult, which I appreciate tremendously. If you are a listener right now and you're like, I don't get it, what's all this blah blah talk about the skis and snowboards, you're going to want to click through. Okay, you're going to want to go to
Yeah.
the show notes, you're going to want to click through, you're going to want to go to that Substack post, and you're going to want to look at the artwork that I am including alongside this. It is absolutely stunning, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know, how does the art make you feel?
Yeah.
What, did it spark any creative ideas in you? Did it bring joy to your life? Like, these are the conversations that we want to have. So, dear listeners, thank you for being here. Slew, thank you for being on this episode of Lady Parts. And I am so excited that sometime in the future we will share with people again more of your creative expertise, and gorgeous work that you put out into the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jen.